Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Tara Davis with the Relationship Playbook for Marriage. Happy Monday. Let's talk about relationships. What else are we going to talk about, right, on the Relationship Playbook for Marriage? Today, I want to dive in again on setting clear boundaries for communication. I know we've discussed this topic, and I also know it bears repeating because it's really been up for a lot of clients, a lot of friends, and myself. Getting really clear on our boundaries in communication is so essential, especially when we go into an argument or a debate or a disagreement. When we have really clear boundaries set in place already, it actually makes that process of the argument or the debate or the disagreement go really quickly because we don't get sidetracked in name calling or blaming or all this other stuff that then leads us to several different things. First of all, we get sidetracked and go way off because one of us has started taking all these different other pieces of the boundaries that we haven't set. Or two, we have realized that we're going down a rabbit hole in another direction and not even addressing what we wanted to address in the first place. Well, and thirdly, then one of us is left feeling really bad. And that's not actually the purpose of having a debate or a discussion or even an argument. The purpose of that is to let both of you have your say in these boundaries. The purpose is not to be right or wrong during a discussion or an argument. The purpose is to be heard, for the two of you to have your opinions be heard, and then walk away feeling just as good as when you went in. You might have felt really frustrated or even angry when you went in, but the purpose is not to feel ashamed or to be shamed after a discussion or an argument or disagreement. So let's tap into a couple of these things, a couple of these boundaries that we can set. And I know I have said this before, and it seriously bears repeating. I really invite you and encourage you to set these boundaries, write them down when you are both in a really neutral space, even a really loving space. Hey babe, hey honey, let's set these boundaries right now so that next time we're in an argument, we're in a disagreement, we both do not see eye to eye, we already have these in place and we know how this is going to unfold. Look to see what your triggers are during a discussion, a heated debate with your partner. What makes you feel bad about yourself that your partner does or says? What makes you feel sad? What makes you shut down and not want to speak anymore? So does your partner, and we're not pointing fingers, I'm just giving examples. Does your partner call you names? Does your partner yell and get loud? Does your partner shut down and then you shut down? What do you notice? Do you get aggressive with your partner? And do you notice that when you are really aggressive, maybe your voice starts changing, maybe your pitch starts changing, maybe you start getting louder? How does this unfold for you during these places where you want to close down or you want to become the opposite and become extremely defensive and start attacking? So I invite you to look and see, is it cussing? Like, does that make you feel really anxious when your partner does that? Or maybe you're the one that likes to cuss and you notice that your partner shrinks back when you start to do this. Do you do this when you're drinking? Like, maybe that is something that needs to come off the table. Like, hey, when we are drinking or when you're drinking or when I'm drinking or either one of us is in an altered state, we're taking any and all deep discussions off the table because we both know how that unfolds and it's not working. Maybe that's what you need to do. Once you set these boundaries, Here's the best part. You get to practice over and over with your partner, staying within these boundaries. And it might feel wonky at first. It might feel really clumsy, like you don't know what you're doing and you can't remember what you're doing. I invite you to keep going with this. Keep going. And if you need to speak with your partner and say, man, this just feels really clunky and uncomfortable today. Hey, Francesca. Love seeing you here. I invite you to just be present with what's going on when you want to set these boundaries for your discussions, for your arguments, for your debates. And then when you're in the middle of it and one or the other of you crosses that line and maybe starts cussing or name calling or finger pointing, whatever it is that you've written down, that's when you get to hold space for your partner and say, hey, so these were what we named as our boundaries, and you just did that. It's not a finger pointing or a blaming. It's just bringing that to the table of this is what we said we weren't going to do, and that just happened. So at that point, depending on the response of your partner, you get to do one of two things. You get to continue, or you get to take a break and say, okay, so I'm going to take a break. And then you literally walk out of the room, walk out of the house, whatever it is that you need to do, however heated this discussion is, with the intention of coming back and revisiting this. Maybe you guys just really need a break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes to cool down, and then bring back the discussion with your boundaries. Boundaries are such a thing that can help us really, it sounds like boundaries could almost be counterproductive when in fact they hold space for us to just fly. I know when my partner and I, when my husband and I have our boundaries in place, our discussions, our debates go so much quicker because we know what the other one can and cannot go with. We know what shuts the other one down. I certainly know what shuts me down, and I've really laid that out and been clear on my list, as has he. This is what shuts him down, and I know it, and I don't go there. When I do, and if he reminds me, I really remember and think, right, I'm sorry, let's continue. Like, I get it. I'm really sorry, let's continue. I won't do that again. See how this works for you. And I would love to hear your comments below. How does setting boundaries improve your communication with your partner? You can use this in work. You can use this with your children. You can use this anywhere in your life. Setting boundaries to see how you can communicate better, how you can show up better in that space that you create. Okay, great. See you next week.